All throughout this season, there was speculation that Victor Oladipo wanted out of Indiana, but that's all it was, just speculation. But now there are multiple sources reporting that he is ready to move on from Indiana, and it seems likely that the Pacers will be at the very least entertaining trade offers from a number of teams. And there will be a number of teams interested because despite the fact Oladipo is yet to recover from his significant injury that he sustained back in last year, or whenever it was, it feels like it might have been 3 years ago at this stage, he still has the potential to be a great third or second option depending on what team you have and depending on the dynamic of your team. Someone who has all defense potential and someone who was an all-star only a few years ago having a career season. Oladipo is definitely a risk. I mean, he's going to be after quite a significant payday soon, and you might have to gamble on him getting back to where he was for him to be worth what he will be demanding in terms of financially. Now, we still remember what he did in his breakout season, his first season in Indiana, when he turned into a star and one of the best shooting guards in the league, averaging over 23 points per game on over 40% shooting, and providing two-way play that a lot of the other guards around his level offensively didn't have, and that's what separated him. That's what made him one of the best shooting guards and a top 20 player in the league. But even before he injured his leg in 2018, he was a few points off and several percent down from his career best year the year prior, and people were starting to question if 2017 was a one-off. But after his leg injury, things went downhill completely. Coming back this season, he looked a step slower, couldn't shoot the ball, just didn't have anywhere near the same impact that he had just a few years ago. Even the year prior before his injury, he was still putting up like 18 points a game on good defense, and he was still providing that close to all-star level play. But after the injury, it just went completely downhill and he had a terrible season in 2020. However, there were some signs of better play in the last 3 games. He played against the Heat where he scored 20 points in all 3 games, taking the scoring load in the absence of Sabonis. Something that'll probably make teams more interested than they might have been prior to the cancellation of the season is the fact he's now had even longer to recover from injury and will be able to hopefully get back to full health, which I don't know if that means he returns to his all-star form in 2017 or closer to what he was doing back in 2018, which was just a notch below, but still a very good player. But any team that makes a trade will be hoping it's not the 13 points on 30% shooting he provided in a few games he played this year. Because if you're trading for that with the money he's going to be demanding and the money he's on already, plus having to give up pieces, that's going to set your franchise back, and that could be a huge mistake. So you've really got to take the gamble. Now, quickly before I get into the video, if you could drop a like right now, that would be much appreciated. And sub to the channel. I'm trying to make this type of content regularly, almost every day. Support is much appreciated. Anyways, let's get back into it. There are a lot of teams looking for a third option, and as a result, a lot of teams have been linked with the Indiana Pacers star man or former star man. But instead of going through every potential trade destination, I thought I'd look at 5 or so places where Oladipo could be a good fit or where it could be an interesting trade. Now, keep in mind, you have to look at it both ways. People always think about the player or the team that wants to make a trade and forget that they still need to gain something decent in return to accept. I'm looking at you Lakers fans. You can't just put Danny Green in every trade and expect Damian Lillard to come back the other way. It's not just Lakers fans, but there's a lot of them. Let's start off with the Brooklyn Nets. The Nets have been floated as a potential destination, a trade package probably centered around Caris LeVert, and whatever else you need to make it work would be interesting for both parties. I personally don't mind this as a trade. The Nets have their offense in the hands of 2 players, and that duo will be one of, if not the best offensive duos in the league. So getting someone like Oladipo, who has been an all-NBA defender, has been able to shoot off the catch in the past, and can slash to the rim, could be hugely beneficial to what Brooklyn want to do. Do I think Oladipo is a much better player than Caris LeVert based off last year, or even based off the year before? No, not majorly, but everything we know about him suggests he's a better fit. And as long as the Nets don't give up too much, he could be the third option Brooklyn have been rumored to be after, and that's key. Brooklyn have been interested in a third option for quite some time, so I could see them pulling the trigger on something like this. On the other side of the trade, LeVert is someone that will be a 20-point per game scorer next year, I think. He's a bucket. He does require the ball in his hands, and despite Indiana having a very solid team, he's probably going to get that more than he will in Brooklyn. And I could see a change of scenery, getting him to go to that extra level. That's what we saw with Oladipo when he moved from OKC, and I could see the same for Caris LeVert. If he can stay healthy, he has all-star potential in my opinion, and I could see the Pacers taking the chance on someone like LeVert And I could see Brooklyn taking the chance on someone like Oladipo. Then got the Boston Celtics, who are another potential trade partner, with them maybe looking to get rid of Gordon Hayward. And then you could have Smart come off the bench again and have Oladipo playing at the 2. The only thing with this trade is Oladipo much of an improvement on Marcus Smart? They have both been inconsistent offensively, and Smart was just an all-NBA defender. I think I'll just deal with Smart's inconsistency on offense instead of having to pay the extra money for Oladipo and have to navigate having Smart come off the bench again. In my opinion, for the Celtics, there's another man out of Indiana that we might talk about who makes a bit more sense than Oladipo. At this point, Oladipo hasn't really proven to be much better than Marcus Smart or Gordon Hayward in the last few years, and if you're the Celtics, you probably forget about what he did in 2017 because you already have a core that has proven they can get close to the finals, and you might just have to add a different kind of piece rather than go all out on a trade like that. Now, moving on from a team that I don't think makes too much sense to a team that I think makes more sense is the Denver Nuggets. You have a superstar pairing, a very offensive-minded superstar pairing at that, and despite Jamal Murray no longer being a liability on defense, if you can get the defense of Victor Oladipo alongside him, someone that can potentially be that third ball handler, because as much as MPJ should improve his ball handling, it's still pretty suspect, and he is very prone to losing the ball, so I don't know about him handling the ball all that much, particularly in crucial playoff games, which the Nuggets will be in plenty of over the next few years. The Nuggets were at their best against the Clippers when Gary Harris was playing well, and they really missed his scoring and defense in the Lakers series because he was borderline unplayable all series long. Harris was one of the worst contracts in the NBA, so it would probably take some convincing in the form of picks to get Indiana to make a trade like that. But if you could find a way to have a lineup of Murray, Oladipo, Porter, Grant, and Jokic, that would be something. Letting Millsap go and resigning Grant, and the Nuggets are one of the best teams in the West yet again, and to have a player that will be a huge improvement on what they already had, and will be able to play a similar role in the system, which is key. And then finally, you have the Dallas Mavericks, who are another interesting option. A very similar situation to Denver, where you have a star duo and an incredibly good offensive point guard, who is okay defensively, not as bad as some people say, but you could do with an all-NBA defender alongside him, someone to take the pressure off Luka. And given what we saw from all the role players for the Mavs this year, try and tell me Luka's not going to elevate Oladipo's game. He's not going to make him better. But VO might be more interested in a trade to Dallas than Denver because he's more likely to be the second ball handler as opposed to the third, and he's going to get more of a run because Luka needs someone to take the ball out of his hands during crucial stretches of playoff games, during times where he's fatigued, which happened this year. We saw the fatigue kick in at different times during the year, and they just have a bunch of shooters around him, which are good, but if you can add someone that can potentially shoot, potentially play defense, and potentially take the ball out of his hands and create for him and others, that could be huge in terms of Dallas taking the next step and Dallas having a chance at winning a championship as soon as next year, which I think they do. And then you have a few other options that most people throw out pretty much anytime someone wants to leave. There's the Heat, the Lakers, those kind of teams. Let's just wait and see who wins the finals and who performs, because I struggle to see those teams making drastic changes to a championship winning team, particularly the Heat considering the age of their roster. Maybe the Lakers because they have a much smaller window, at least that's what we thought, but LeBron could be like this until he is 40, so none of us really know how long their window will be open. None of us really know what's going to happen in the finals, so I wouldn't be predicting any trades between those two teams just yet. Victor Oladipo, he's a good player, and his defense and ability to finish at the rim, plus the potential of him returning to his all-star status, is definitely enticing enough for some teams, and in particular a few teams, and in particular teams that don't have particularly good two guards like the Nuggets. And it's definitely a risk, because if he continues to play like he did this year, then you're significantly overpaying for a glorified role player. But I like to be optimistic, so I think he'll get somewhere back to around 18 to 20 points per game, provide that good defense, provide that third, second ball handler, someone who can create for himself, someone who can create for others, and he could get back to an all-star level. So I think it might be worth a trade for teams looking to compete, looking to get that second or third star. If you did enjoy the video, a like would be much appreciated. Where do you think Oladipo should go? What's the best spot for him? And will he ever get back to his all-star form? Sub to the channel, trying to hit 10k by the end of the year, and I'm going to grind over the next few months, so you might as well stick around for that. Anyways, have a good day. I'll catch you next time.